Okay, so you've probably seen it, right? THCA products are popping up everywhere. Gas stations, vape shops, all over the internet. And it makes you wonder, what is going on? Is this stuff the real deal, or is it something else entirely? Well, today we're going to break it all down and get to the unripe truth about THCA versus THC.
So here's the big question we're tackling. Is the THCA you can buy pretty much anywhere the exact same thing as the top-shelf cannabis you'd get from a legal dispensary? Most people just assume, oh, it's just some clever legal loophole. But the reality? Well, it's way more interesting, and it has a lot more to do with science than it does with lawyers.
First things first, let's talk about the confusion itself. I mean, these THCA products are absolutely everywhere you look. And because of that, it's super easy to just assume they're identical to dispensary-grade stuff. And that's exactly the big misconception we need to clear up today.
And look, it's a totally understandable assumption. A lot of us think that this legally available THCA is the same thing as that premium THC Delta 9 that's been grown to absolute perfection. But the honest truth is, they are not the same thing, not by a long shot.
To really get it, we've got to think about nature, about how things grow and mature. And honestly, the best way to understand the difference here is with a really simple but powerful analogy. Thinking about fruit on a vine.
Let's break this down. Imagine that premium dispensary-grade THC Delta 9 is like a perfect, plump, ripe piece of fruit, picked at the absolute peak of its flavor. Now THCA, that's the same fruit, but it was picked way too early. It's the green, unripe, undeveloped version of what it was supposed to become.
You know, the source material puts this so perfectly. It says THCA is the plant, before nature had a chance to make it as divine as it could with all its goodness. It's essentially an incomplete version of the plant, harvested before it ever had the chance to reach its full natural potential.
Now, if the whole fruit analogy isn't quite clicking for you, don't worry. There's another way to think about it that's just as good, and this one comes from the world of alcohol.
Just take a look at this. You would never say that beer is the same thing as whiskey, would you? Of course not. One is a starting point, right? The other is a much more refined, mature, potent product. Well, the source makes this exact comparison. THCA is like beer or wine, while real THC Delta 9 is the good stuff. It's like the best liquor. They're in completely different leagues when it comes to maturity.
And you can really feel the frustration in this quote from the source. For people who really know their stuff, this isn't just some small detail. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of what these products are. The conviction here is that we're talking about two genuinely different things, not just some clever workaround.
And that brings us to our final and maybe our most important point. We've got to move past this whole idea of it being a loophole and get down to the scientific reality of what's actually going on here.
So the magic word here is precursor. THCA is the natural precursor to THC Delta 9. See, inside the plant, as it grows and gets exposed to light and heat, that THCA slowly, naturally converts into the THC everyone's more familiar with. So, by definition, it's the raw material. It's not the finished product.
And that's really the bottom line. This whole thing isn't about some slick legal trick. The stuff being sold as THCA is, chemically and developmentally, a fundamentally different substance. It's the raw ingredient, not the final dish. It's the unripe fruit, not the mature one.
So let's just do a super quick recap of everything we've covered. THCA is the natural before to THC Delta 9's after. And the best way to remember it is with those analogies, right? It's unripe fruit versus ripe fruit. It's beer versus whiskey. The key takeaway is that this difference is chemical and developmental. It's not just a legal thing.
And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. Now that you know that THCA is essentially the unripe version of the plant, picked before it could ever reach its full potential, does that change how you see it? Does that change its appeal for you? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in for this explainer.